I'm intrigued by the "we're supposed to be eating raw" statement. I mean, I know most people will eat some raw foods, certain fruits, certain vegetables,
Yeah,
things like that.
yeah,
But as far as I know, through through most of at least modern history, and in certainly every country that I've ever been to, which is a lot of them, people typically like to have their food cooked and even struggle to digest things that are raw. So how does that
well,
how does that balance out?
well, if you're used to eating cooked foods and then you want to go raw, you have to do it gradually because you have to rebuild your system for a different food supply. That makes sense, right? If you, yeah, use it or lose it, right? That applies to digestion too. So if
Mm.
you're always eating cooked food, your digestive system will become weaker. And and then if you're talking about meat, meat is actually easier to digest raw than cooked. But most people don't eat it, except in Japan, sushi, and in Italy, prosciutto, and in Germany they eat raw hamburger. They put raw hamburger meat with green onions, so they eat that raw. So even eating raw meat is not that strange an idea, right?
I think it's pretty strange.
Well, I guess it's what you're
I
used.
mean, I know that there are exceptions. I know there's
No. I guess it's
carpaccio and
no.
sushi and
What
things.
I
But
say to you then is, well, I guess that's what you're used to,
yeah, I'm
right?
definitely used to
And
eating
then you
cooked food.
obviously the first time I ate sushi, I had a Japanese professor at university, so he took us out for sushi, and they brought us sashimi, which is like raw tuna in raw tuna slabs, and I looked at that and it was like, I can't believe it. They're serving us dead raw fish, right? And so I had a really hard time with it, but I got used to
Yeah.
it, and it's
Oh no,
actually very very
I,
easy to
lo-
digest.
I love sushi. I love
Yeah.
sushi.
So there you
I'm not
go.
sold on other meats,
So
eating
you
them
are
raw.
right, but yeah, and of course the
And
part of the
what
issue.
about the obviously there's a risk of various types of disease with that, and particularly if you're looking at things like poultry and pork.
Yeah, if the meat's contaminated, then you have to cook it to kill the bugs.
Yeah.
And the way we used to have chicken in the barnyard, they weren't polluted. The way we grow them now, in close quarters with millions of other chickens, and using all kinds of antibiotics, which, mess up the digestive tract's immune function. So if the meat is contaminated, then you can't eat it raw.
I
That's
hear
like,
that.
but why the meat's contaminated? We created that
Mm.
because we wanted to mass produce everything because we could make more money. So we weren't thinking about health in any of that. We were thinking about money,
I
right?
think you're
And
also
if you
thinking about billions of
and
new human beings coming into the world and needing to be able to feed everybody.
well, that's what they say, but um, I don't buy it. I know
Fair enough.
if you
Fair
live
enough.
in the city, and that's something we created. So millions of people live in cities. They don't have a plot of land where they can grow their own food. Well, yeah, then they're going to depend on somebody else doing it for them,
For
right?
sure.
But
I have a question because look,
yeah,
most people who are listening to this most likely do live in cities, and
yeah,
we're probably not going to convince them to start eating raw meat and so on.
yeah.
So, but what I really do want to do
So
is meet people where they are.
yeah,
So if
so
I'm
let
just
me.
thinking of
So
the average person listening to this,
yeah,
what are some sort of quick, practical, easy wins that they can get in terms of their nutrition, in terms of some simple changes that they can make?
okay, okay. So if you're going to eat your foods cooked, then what you need to do, you need to replace the digestive enzymes that are in raw food that you destroyed. You need to replace those. So you take a load off your digestive system because your digestive system was made for raw food. When you cook them, your digestive system has to do more than twice the work. Give it the help with the digestive enzymes, replace those enzymes. Because if your digestion doesn't keep up because you cooked it, then your immune system has to get involved. And then your immune system is not free to do its other jobs. So replace the digestive enzymes that were destroyed when foods were cooked and replace the probiotics that were killed when the foods were cooked. So those two things will help your digestive tract. Then eat more fiber. That means plant-based.
Sorry. How do you do that?
Oh, you take them as supplements.
Just take
So
supplements.
literally,
Okay.
I take an enzyme supplement. You take take a capsule of enzymes, or you could open them and mix them in the food after the food is cool enough to eat. And the same thing with the probiotics. You take supplements. I brush my teeth with probiotics in the evening because your mouth needs probiotics too. When you swallow a capsule, you get benefits from your stomach down, but not from your stomach up. So I brush my teeth with them. I wake up with exponentially less severe bad breath in the morning. Nobody wants to talk about it, but we all know what that is, right?
Yeah.
Right? And it works really well. So I brush them, and then they start on top, and they go through the whole digestive tract. I use one called Super Bifido Plus, and unbelievably good. I open it on my tongue, brush my teeth with it, swallow it. I don't rinse my mouth. I want to leave them in my mouth because they outpopulate the rot bacteria in my mouth, and they steal their food, and they inhibit their growth. And the rot bacteria, because when you're sleeping, you don't swallow, so they all just eat and multiply. That's why bad breath is worse in the morning than it is any other time of the day. And then fiber, very good food for the probiotics. And then there's bitters, which are bitter herbs that help digestion and liver function. So those four, because digestion is the second most neglected area, where there are the second most problems next to missing omega-3s or damaged omega-3s. So I work with that as well. Then greens, honestly, we should be eating greens till they're coming out of our ears. They call rabbit food. Yeah, that's right. Eat it till it's coming out of your ears. Why is that? Because if you look at the planet, that is the foundation of all life on the planet is green, basically green plants. So I work with that as well.
I hear that.
So those are easy things to do. So, and I'm always looking at, like, I live in the city, just like most people that listen to you and listen to me. I live in the city. I'm always looking at how was it in nature before we got civilized, and how do I duplicate that living in the city? Well, I'm not living in a tent, and I'm not sleeping under a tree. But in terms of the food that my body is made of, when we kill the enzymes, we need to replace them because they're in the raw foods. The probiotics are on the raw foods. That's where a cow gets its probiotics, and why cows don't have bad breath if they're in the meadow is because they get probiotics in their mouth with every mouthful of grass they eat. So I want to duplicate that, so I replace those. And then as much raw as I can, more plant-based, because I think we've kind of made meat the thing that real people eat, right? But that's more advertising. That's not health related. That's, again, is commerce related, right? And we do, there's lots of good research that says when you eat more plant-based, you actually get improvements in both longevity and in health. So I'm not saying completely vegan, but head in the direction of more plant-based. It's also good for the planet because growing animals is pretty hard can be pretty hard on the environment. And then if you're going to eat carbs, beans, peas, lentils, chickpeas, they're not my favorite foods, but eat them as whole foods. So if you're going to eat carbs, don't eat white sugar, white flour, and white bread, and cake and cookies, and soft drinks that are sugared, right? No, eat whole foods, grain-based, whole grains, and then legumes. Those are better sources because they have antioxidants in them, and they have anti-inflammatories in them, and they have the energy you need, and they're more balanced. What we do when we process foods, we take them out of balance. And most health problems of physical origin are the result of damage done by processing or nutrients removed by processing. Processing is the key to all the diseases of civilization.